Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Adam from Spirited Systems. We're doing another team room here at the Direct Action Resource Center. I want to give a shout out to Darcy again, just for letting us use the facility while we're here at this course that we're helping teach. And you know, they've always been really gracious and great to us. So just want to get that out of the way. Zach, we just did a video with you. You probably tell that we're wearing the same outfits as we were. So yeah, we just shot it like 10 minutes ago. So we're shooting the second video. This will come, this comes out later after that first one. But we want to talk about kind of the flagship first product of CANA Provisions. I did a video about it, actually. Did you watch it?
Yes.
So how much was wrong?
No.
How much did I get wrong in the video? No, we're going to get it right this time. So we actually have the privilege of having Zach on again, and we are going to be able to talk about the pump itself, some of the ways that it's kind of evolved already, which products do that, right? Over time, we evolve our products, we make them better. Well, if you're a company that actually cares about it, then you do. So we're going to talk about some of that, and then we're going to talk about maybe some of the stuff that you're looking forward to in the future so that people can understand more. A lot of the questions I get is, yeah, they make the pump, they have this decon kit, but what's next? Like, what are you guys planning on doing next? So let's just jump right into the pump itself.
Yeah.
What is it? How does it work? Briefly, we did a longer form video you guys can look at if you want to really get into the nuts and bolts of some of this. But I kind of want to go like the 20,000 foot view of like why and how.
Yep.
If that makes sense. So take it away.
Absolutely. So the thing about this system, it was actually born out of my terrible experience with you and the rest of your Spirited team. We were here all together in 2020.
As students. Yep.
And in the team, when we went to go get water at 11 o'clock at night, in my team that I was leading and responsible for, we had one PVS 14, which was given to a guy fresh out of third bat, and he was running the security operation as I was running the water, and watching Adam and 7 other guys push our position at night, all wearing dual tubes, and recognizing how hunted and exposed we were at the water source was terrifying. It was a very uncomfortable feeling.
Well, that was an uncomfortable water class experience as well, because we had high temperatures, high humidity, and we had very low water levels actually in the area. So
water levels were low, and we failed miserably. Like 90% of our filtering capability that the entire class had failed in the first day.
Yeah, it was bad. It was probably the worst class I've been a part of, to be honest.
It was terrible. It was a terrible experience. But out of that terrible experience came a beautiful product, a beautiful thing.
Something birthed from it.
Right. And so this was born out of what can I find immediately to help, the terminology that we use is time on water, time on target, time on water. How can I reduce my exposure time at the water? And that means how fast can I move that water? Yeah. So what this was designed to do is to be a diaphragm pump, which is the pressure sensing diaphragm pump. So there are 4 basically small diaphragm pistons in there that are all firing to move the water very quickly. So it's a high efficiency pump. But on top of that, not just can this move the water, but what does this prevent me from doing? If I don't have to get to the water source and get out of all of my gear, get out of my boots, or for that matter, go into the water with all of my gear.
Which is the worst case scenario.
Absolutely, because now I've compromised my gear and potentially whatever electronics.
And the water source.
And the water source by whatever I have on me, whether that's...
Or kicking up silt, mud, bringing in particulates, anything from the shore.
All of those different things.
Disturbing it.
If I can avoid doing that and limit my time and my contact on the water, then that's exactly what I want to do. And I want to disturb as little of the water as possible.
Absolutely.
So what I did in the very first ambiguation of this was it was just the pump. With stuff I could buy off the shelf, nothing manufactured. And I brought that out to the second class and showed it to you and to Rich. And you, Rich, and I were the first ones to have my Rev 2 of the design on literally a wood backer with my own electronics housing that was the precursor to all of this. And that gave birth to a totally different system. So a lot of people have pointed out that I can find a very similar, if not the same, pump itself on Amazon or wherever else. And the answer is yes, this is an RV-based pump. But how it's configured and what went into it is what makes it different and sets it apart. So you can go and you can get a diaphragm pump for your RV,
Yeah.
and you can set it out on your table, and you can turn that thing on, and you're going to not just hear the table rattling, you're going to hear the housing rattling, you're going to hear your connections rattling. One of the biggest things taking into consideration is if I'm on a water source at night, or I don't want to attract.
We want it to be as quiet as possible.
Exactly.
And which this is pretty quiet. We showed it in the video. We've used it. It is very quiet in comparison to, we do have students who bring pumps and things like that, and they find out very quickly that OPT4 loves when they kick on a pump that isn't built into an actual product, and it starts making a lot of noise because then they know exactly, where somebody's retrieving water at, or or it just kicks up security. Like, why is there noise? There's usually no noise out here. So that's a big piece of this, is that it runs efficiently and quietly.
So it allows you to get into you can get into an area, get my water.
Sure.
And this is not necessarily meant to be a purification filtering product at the source. If I do not have the time or the resources to secure the entire source, it means nothing to me.
No, it's about moving water from the source into a container.
Potable containers or dirty containers that I can then pull back into a security position or in a place where I know that I have the time and resources to make that water consumable.
It clean. Well, so another thing that a lot of the comments that we've gotten are things that we've kind of defended the position of too is, I think contextually, guys have a hard time imagining, because we are so water rich. They have a hard time imagining a life without gallons of water at their disposal. I mean, right now it's ridiculous. You go, you get dirty. You go inside. You strip your clothes off, you put it in a washing machine, that thing uses 20 gallons of water to clean, a couple of articles of clothing, and then you step into a shower and you take a 20-minute shower and you get nice and clean, and then you step out of that, you wash, you're just washing items with water. It's almost in the background. We're so water rich that we've just taken it for granted. What's the flow rate on this?
So that's going to depend on your voltage.
Sure.
And that goes back to this right here, which is the electronics housing.
Yep.
So there are
which shamelessly plugging here, this is one of the key pieces that took time, engineering time, that you can't just click add to cart on Amazon and have the capability. This is a piece that you just can't. The average person, me, I can't just do this in my basement. It's something that had engineering time behind it, was built specifically for this. I just want to point that out because it's important that people understand, there's a pump, you can buy a pump. I've used the pumps. Every time I've used a pump, I've been doing this water game for a while, the pumps were considered a consumable because we burned the pumps out. It just was, we were like, hey, you need to have extra pumps because you're going to apply power to this, and eventually the pump is just going to die. And we would kill the pumps and we would throw the pump and we'd get a new pump. We didn't realize that was because of the voltage fluctuation and how we were delivering power to the pump itself. We were actually killing the pumps. So something about mine, the prototype that I tested for months, many months, ran many cycle hours through it. It actually went back to you. It's probably still working.
Yeah, it is still working. It's in the history. It's in the history cabinet.
Which was something that I abused. I pumped some of the most disgusting, chunky water through it, and I ran it for sometimes over an hour of just running, just to see if I could kill it, which I was unable to do, which is amazing because if I were to buy an RV pump, I can kill any RV pump. I can kill it. I promise you. I've done it. I will kill it. Haven't been able to kill this one. So.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of key points here, and all my electronics, my double E's out there, like you can poke holes through little drifties here. You can poke holes through little things here, but you'll appreciate what I'm saying, that this is a printed circuit board in here that was deliberately chosen from a backlash protection on your battery and your voltage coming in. So especially if you're plugged into vehicle power and you're running at a very high idle, you're generating more than 12 volts. And so there's a very clear warning on everything that says, don't apply more than 15 volts to the system. And any of the power cords that you're getting and any of these batteries that we're showing here should be giving you a nominal between 11 and 13 volts, sometimes up to 14 volts, which is fine. The system will handle that. So your transfer rate your gallons per minute is going to depend on that voltage. So as your battery gets tired, you're going to sink down into the 2.5 range.
Okay.
But if you've got a fresh,
so our low end is 2.5.
At 2.5,
okay.
The high end is going to be up at 3.8, almost 4 gallons a minute.
That's impressive.
But it'll sit in about the 3.3 to 3.6 gallons a minute range.
So at if we split it at 3, we have a 5-gallon water can.
Yep.
I mean, it's pretty simple math, right? We're not sitting at a water source to fill a 5-gallon can. It's pretty quick.
Yep.
So comparatively to dunk a 5-gallon can into a water source, how long does it take to fill?
And it depends on how large that opening is.
Yeah,
it depends on the type of water.
It depends how deep it is, how much you can get the can under.
And then you getting into the water. Where this really pays off is how did I get to the water source?
Yeah,
Do I have a cart with me?
Yeah.
Do I have a cart with a 200-gallon tank on it?
Yeah.
Because if that's the case, I just changed the game
big
completely.
Time. Yeah, big time.
So the transfer rate on there, but then also what you're talking about from the pump itself, this body, we have multiple of these that have run for 10,000 gallons plus. I have run these for hours, like 3 and 4 hours at a time, making sure that they will turn over. There are occasions where from the manufacturer, it doesn't pass the test.
Sure.
And so me, as the assembler of this, I will pull that off. Or if you come to me or any other customer comes to me and says, hey, there's something happening with this pump, CANA, I will make it right. Period. Full stop.
Yeah, which I love.
Everything else about this that I can manufacture is manufactured here in the US. So this electronics housing is manufactured right here in the US. It's assembled right here.
So the Taiwan thing is not, you don't have a microprocessor in there?
There's no Taiwanese microprocessor in here.
He's insulated, guys.
So the housing is printed here. The electronics are all assembled here.
Awesome.
They're all tested before, and that's the other piece. If you buy an AR-1, you will get a traveler document that goes with it. And it is showing you, I have personally checked off each one of those things on that pump, and it has been through minimum of 2 up to 4 different pressure tests and function tests.
Which is another important piece that I try to explain to guys, that having this, just the fact that it goes through a pressure test is a big deal, because if you're buying a pump yourself and you're assembling it yourself and it's never been through, you have no way to test it out. It could work or it could not work. It could fail at kind of the worst possible time.
And so that's part of that part of that QC and that traveler that goes with this is these go through a minimum of 3 hours of assembly and quality check time before they leave the facility.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so with that goes, this is manufactured here in the US. The plastics are actually manufactured here in the US as well. This is a HDPE chassis. So a lot of guys are saying, hey, it's a cutting board. Cutting boards are made out of HDPE and a lot of other materials, but this one is CNC machined to a close spec, and we have several different features that are patent pending, as well as the electronics housing on this, as far as how this goes together and using multiple different levels of dampening, so that
But you can tell. I mean, you can tell in the last class that brought their own pumps. We could really tell the difference. I was very intrigued to see that we had one class, we randomly had a bunch of students show up with pumps, which we allowed them to use. And it was interesting to see by the end of the class that we had a bunch of pump failures. The pumps were extremely loud.
Not the AR-1.
Not yours. Yeah, I'm saying the other pumps that were brought. And then when they got access to this, a couple of the guys even said, like, I get it now. I understand the difference between the thing I put together in my basement in my underwear versus like the actual product that you've produced, that you've kind of thought through some of these problems, like how loud it is and how to quiet it.
And so one of the big things I get asked about this electronics housing in particular is they're like, oh, hey, man, like, can I use a drill battery on this? And the answer is yes, but. And the but is the important part. A lot of guys will look at, hey, the Power Wheels stuff you can get on Amazon right now. It's called pulse width modulation. And it's you're dumbing a voltage down and using an alternating current to do that. And you can do that, but what you're trading off is size, space, and complexity. And so what this was designed to do is reduce that complexity, reduce the size, and reduce the weight. This weighs about 5.6 pounds, 5.8 pounds. I'm not saying this is your Appalachian Trail backpacking pump.
No, it's not.
But when
it's important to understand too that this has a place.
This does have a place.
It does have a place. Yeah.
We're gonna showcase another piece of that. but why the things were chosen the way they were. A perfect example is on the front here, you can spin these couplings off. There are plugs to keep
quick disconnects.
Quick disconnects to keep things from getting in. But these use a standard garden hose thread.
So you can, your unique application, it's stuff you can go to Home Depot. You can, hey, I have a tank and I need a hose that attaches directly to the tank. We actually have used it before as for hygiene, where we've taken an IBC tote, we've hooked this up to a shower system. So we've used the CANA pump to pump a large volume of water to a shower, a propane heated shower, and then we've used it actually in the class for hygiene purposes. So we can build, this doesn't, because it's a product that was built to spec, but it also has that kind of ad hoc, at home DIY aspect to it too, which I really like. And these guys aren't restricted to like a proprietary plug or something.
And that's what we're trying to do is create modularity in there from the perspective of this is an engineered solution, but CANA really came about from the perspective of I built this first and foremost for me and my family, and then for other guys who are like,
hey, started asking, like, hey,
can I get one of those? That this was built as a trained and working as an engineer. I want to design and bring things to market that make sense.
Yeah, bring value.
But also have a purpose. And that was, how can I not constrict everyone to, hey, you have to use this proprietary coupling?
I think that was a great idea.
On the website, we sell the extra metal. So we use these, which are a 3D printed version on our hose coupler, but we also have the ones you can thread into. They're metal. You can thread them into your garden hose. We sell hose repairs kits, and that doesn't mean you have to use our hose. We selected the Flexzilla hose because it's a premium silicone hose that retains its shape. And so a lot of guys have talked about that as well. Hey, why are you using that hose? That's an expensive hose. You're not wrong.
It's expensive, and it's
not an inexpensive hose. But if you're using your own garden hose, hey, I can use this repair kit. I can use these couplings, and you can buy them all in one place. Even to that extent, which I don't think I have my pre-filter here, it's down there. The pre-filter, hey, we sell a do-it-your-own, DIY, do-it-yourself kit to make up your own intake. So there are a couple of different things. You're getting a little Spiritus Truth Island fresh look, sneak peek at a couple of new things, but a lot of questions we get are with regards to power. And so we're not going to go too deep into it, but we have a bunch of the different power battery solutions out here from the perspective of, up until now, they have shipped with the standard male cigarette plug lighter because it's so ubiquitous. But on top of that, what a lot of people don't think about is the amperage. So everyone is really locked in on the voltage, but we don't talk about the amperage.
Which is
and so
important.
In order to run this, I need to be able to run between 3 amps, and if I want to use the pressure setting, because this is a diaphragm pump, meaning it will shut off when it's pressure tested up to 50 PSI. If I cut that off, it'll stop. But when I do that, it ramps up to almost 8 amps. So if I'm trying to run that off of a very small battery, especially like this, when it's low in power, then I'm going to have a hard time reaching that 8 amps. So the reason we selected the Anderson plugs, which we got a lot of questions about that.
Which, if for those of you not familiar, this guy, we'll do a little close up on that too, but Anderson plug, it's a universal plugging system. For basically, it's used a lot in automotive, accessories, electrical accessories,
radio, engineering world. And so it allows an amperage range from 15 amps all the way up to 45 amps.
Which is mega compared to what you need.
Compared to what we need for this. So we're just using a 15 amp range. The point here is that with a number of these different cords, we're giving you options as far as what battery flavor that you want to use. From now on, when you order an AR-1, you will be getting the new battery accessory sleeve with this cable, which is our DC to Anderson.
So it's a barrel connector.
It's a barrel connector that will be routed up through here and pre-positioned. It's still going to ship with this when you get the kit. So you have 2 methods. And the other thing is when from now on, when you're buying the AR-1, you'll also be receiving a battery with it in the very near future. So what we'll have is you'll either have the waterproof battery, or we'll have this. There's a little different range as far as what your milliamp hours, so how much you can pump with it.
Yeah.
But a single charge off of either of these batteries should get you moving 120 to 150 gallons of water.
Yeah, that's massive.
Now, a little bit of that is just going to determine on your temperature range.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But these are the two Talent Cell batteries. These are Amazon available.
Okay.
We're going to have them when you buy an AR-1. You will be receiving.
Sure. So it'll be the full solution.
It will be the full
out of the box
turnkey solution right out of the box.
Cool.
So these little guys are great because with the new battery sleeve,
it's just kind of amorphous.
I can ram that battery in, and I have the entire solution
right there.
Right
just
here.
Grab it. Yep.
So we designed this specifically so that you will be able to accommodate one geometry or another geometry.
Clever.
There may have been a couple of other batteries that we considered as well for the future that it will hold, but the backside of this also gives you the ability in the event that you're not running that and you want to bring another accessory cord with you.
Just kind of stuff it in there.
You can just stuff it in that pouch as well.
Very cool.
So we're not changing the price on the AR-1 kit.
Okay.
All of these things are new things that will be included deliberately with this to give you more flexibility with this product.
Yeah. Very cool.
So another little thing that we've done recently that you changed, you'll notice, is we've changed our stickering a little bit. So
I did notice that.
So the QR code will now drop you directly on the landing page.
Okay, cool.
So that will take you to
So this is the
legacy
style right here, and then this is the new one.
Yep, and so that'll drop you right on the landing page.
Okay.
And it'll take us over to the operations instructions.
Sure.
So you should have received one with your AR-1, which is a laminated hard copy. You can pull it off as a PDF or view it.
Sure.
We'll have operation instruction video. That's just something that we're working on doing as well, but we'll have one of those available immediately as well. The other thing we added is this nice flow sticker on top. Adam, in your video, you pointed it out on the back. They're actually molded in and embossed here.
Yeah, sure.
We've had a little bit of confusion.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's great.
But you've seen it. So now you have that label.
Confusing. It can get confusing without it, guys. We're not engineers. So we're going to put the in and the out every time.
Other thing that we want to highlight on here is on the intake arm, you do have a strainer, which is a 50 mesh strainer. It actually measures right in that 50 mesh range. This is designed to take out a lot of your large particulate.
Sure.
So even if you're not using the pre-filter on the end of the hose, which we certainly advise that you
should do that. Yeah.
If you have one of the water decon kits and you use one of those towelettes, you can take that pre-filter, wrap it around the end of the pre-filter, and rubber band it, and that just adds one more layer of pre-filtering to it. The idea here is you have multiple levels of straining before you get into the guts of the pump itself. Now,
we want to keep it as clean as we possibly can.
Agreed.
It's just going to improve the life, and it's also going to give you better water quality coming out.
Exactly.
Because it's not purifying the water, it's just moving the water for us.
And that's actually one of the things that we say on this warning very specifically.
Sure.
This is not a filtering system.
It is not.
This is meant to transfer and move water under a specific set of circumstances and in a given context.
Which is great. It moves a lot of water. Something I wanted to ask about is, something we're getting asked a lot is how high have you moved water with this?
So the answer to that is twofold. The first is when people talk about draw, how far can I pull water up? So on the catwalk here, I can put an AR-1 up here and I can drop a hose down 10 feet.
10 feet.
And it's going to...
Okay, so the pump itself is 10 feet up. The water source is 10 feet down. So you have a hose running.
It'll draw that water up dry. You do not have to prime this pump. It'll start like that. It'll dry, and you'll hear it bear down with a higher amperage go. Woo,
it'll be a little louder when it's not primed.
And then you get the water into it, and it'll immediately quiet down.
Yeah.
So that's what we call how much lift that the pump has.
So 10 feet?
10 feet.
Okay, got it.
So if you start it at 9 feet, and once the water is flowing, you can elevate it up to about 13 feet. You're cheating by priming it. Water cohesion, water tension, it's going to keep it together. After about the 13 feet, if you're moving the water through it, you're going to start getting intermittent and your hose is going to start collapsing. Now, if I really have to move water high, I'm going to keep this right now next to my water source, and I have driven it up 135 feet.
That's pretty amazing.
Vertically.
So if you can get the pump close to the water, we can go pretty far.
You
can pull water out of a source, a cistern, that's what I think about when I go to kind of the mindset of Tusk. Guys want to know, if I approach a water source, I find a cistern that's buried. Can I drop a hose down it? Well, there's your answer. It's about 10 feet. you can lift the water out.
Yep.
But if you need to move water from a low source, say a quarry, something like that, you want to get water up out of it, and you have to just maybe get the pump closer to the water.
Yep. Get the pump down to the source and push it up, and you're still getting almost 2 gallons a minute.
That's amazing.
At 135 feet.
Yeah.
The only reason
imagine carrying water cans, right? That's what I always get. Like the standard is that 5-gallon kind of military scepter water jug. Imagine filling those
at
100
pounds.
feet down, and they're 48 pounds, and you're carrying 2 of those up 100 feet, and then setting them and then coming back down. Or you can live the good life and you can put your pump down there and just shoot water up at 2 gallons per minute and fill those things over a few minutes or whatever.
And so that's where this changes.
Really awesome.
That's where it changes the game. Is a lot of people are thinking of just about me.
Yeah, it's not about this pump, and just from a Spiritus perspective, this is not about me. This is about mass water collection.
Yep.
Right, and I think that's where, again, I said at the beginning of the video, I think people miss the mark a lot with this product because they're thinking about their backpacking trip through Yosemite, where all the water is already clean and it's fast moving and it's snow melt and glacial melt, and they're not thinking about stopping, at a lake that maybe contested.
Right.
And I need to move a ton of water for me and my 13 best friends.
Right? Or let's take it one level down from the platoon or from the squad,
Yeah, sure.
and let's like take that out of it completely.
Yeah.
So for me and my family of 5, soon to be 6.
Yeah, a lot of people.
My wife, her sector of fire is watching these kids under 5 years old.
Yeah.
If I'm responsible for now getting water for all 6 of us,
How are you going to do it?
how am I going to do it? 1 5-gallon pail at a time?
It's not going to work.
It's not going to work. And so this was designed from that perspective, with that in mind, of thinking, how am I going to be able to move as a single person, or as 2 people, or 3 people? How do I keep 20 people or 25 people equipped? And that is where this was out. And to be clear, what Adam said, this. And what I am purporting here does not invalidate anyone's experience in backpacking or doing water and water relief work all over the world.
Absolutely.
There are a lot of different organizations that do amazing work with that, and I want to partner with.
I think it's just a contextual conversation.
Exactly.
And I think anybody who's done water work will know, they'll know that basically this is a tool.
Exactly.
It is a tool, and there's specific kind of range where it belongs. This is not going to supply a city's worth of water.
Nope.
It's also not really a great option for one guy rucking around trying to just, survive by himself. It's a little heavy for that. But for that medium-sized element, or for that fixed site where you need to get, or that mobile site where you just need to have kind of a continuous flow, it's a great option for that. So we have the pump. Like I said, we have this other video as well that kind of deep dives into the plugging it in and pushing some water through it. So if you want to check that out, really quick here at the end, what's the future? What are you looking at? What problems do you have your eyes kind of set on?
So the gear drop right here, and our logo, that's what we call it, is the gear drop. You see a drop of water, a gear, and a battery.
Yeah.
And on the website, it talks about an ecosystem.
Sure.
And that's what we're trying to do, is purport an ecosystem. And right now it's modular, as far as I want to be able to draw commercial off-the-shelf equipment and be able to utilize and leverage that for guys out there who already have a lot of this equipment.
Sure.
How can I put it to use? And so that is where we're getting these other power cords out here, like our DC power cord, the 2 different lengths, Anderson to Anderson.
Sure.
We have the DC male, what we're going to be offering very soon, that a lot of people have been asking for, an AC option.
Yes.
So we're going to be offering an AC option. The hard part there was tracking down one that could handle the amperage.
Yeah,
there are
absolutely.
lots of 12 volts,
Sure.
but they're only half an amp. So we also released these little bags from the perspective of, hey, how can I keep my stuff organized and dry out? So we put these things together from the perspective of, hey, we love having these. Adam and Spiritus's wontons, the pumps are still going to be showing up in those.
Yeah.
We wanted something little with a low barrier to entry,
for sure. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
people could organize lots of little different things. We do the custom length hoses as well.
Yep.
So we've got a large bag for the custom length hoses, but with those things, we're arranging an architecture of an ecosystem of things working together. Sure. And so the most logical step was making sure that we now have a
power solution
that's mobile. So we have this guy ready to go for whomever buys this off the shelf,
just off
it's
the
ready
shelf,
to
it's
go.
ready to go.
So we're working on power harvesting techniques where we can scavenge power from different batteries.
Interesting.
We are also working on filtering systems. And so we get a lot of questions about the filtering systems. Well, why don't you just, or hey, you could use a...
It's not as simple as that, as we've learned.
Correct.
It's not as simple as just attaching something to something else.
And this laboratory, which is really what Darcy is on a grand scale,
Yeah, absolutely.
has provided to be an excellent testing perspective, a testing place for this in bringing different filters.
Sure.
And filters that should have been good for 10,000 gallons were good for 50 gallons.
Yeah.
And then they died.
Yep.
So I don't want to purport something or release something that has such a high failure rate that it's not prepared for a hard use. And that's where these reached the point where at 10,000 plus gallons and hours of runtime, I knew that they would do what they're purported to
saying
do.
they're doing,
but now I can focus on releasing a filter module.
Sure.
Now I can focus on support pieces that go with this to make sure that it is more usable to you, the end user.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I really appreciate you coming on and telling us the story about the pump and helping maybe us understand kind of the future. I'm excited to see the new products coming up. I've seen some of the prototypes. I can't talk about it here, IP reasons, but it's exciting stuff. And I think it is stuff that is very useful. And I think it was good to put a face behind the brand now. So everyone who has been on the internet and has been angry about the pump, now you know who made it. And I'll tell you this kind of just in closing, I know that the products have been built well and in honesty and with a purpose to serve others, which is kind of why I really like the brand. So I appreciate your time, Zach. And guys, if you found this video useful, you know what to do. Subscribe to the channel, please. It helps us out a lot. Also, spread the knowledge. That's really what the channel is about. We try to spread as much information as we can and get you guys the stuff that you need to survive. So we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.